Matt, we haven't talked with Alyssa Orange in like 3 weeks. Alyssa from Pig Trail Nation back here on halftime. She's giggling back there because she was out in Italy for a couple of weeks having the time of her life. Italy or France, which was more fun, Alyssa?
Oh, God, that's really tough. I don't know why you got to throw that at me right off the bat. I loved Paris. It was beautiful. Italy was a different kind of beautiful because we bounced around to so many cities, but I think I liked Paris more than I liked Milan.
But this was a working vacation, right? It's not like you just were sightseeing or everything. This is all about the Winter Olympics next year. So you get to go back a year from now, Miss World Traveler.
Yeah, it should be fun. It was kind of cool to see, where the venues stand right now, a year out, and they've started putting up signage and getting both of Cortina and Milan ready for these games in a year. So,
are they building? Go ahead, Matt. Yeah.
Well, it's still talking about the Italy and France. Which place had better food, though? Which place did you enjoy eating?
So I ate a lot of pasta and pizza, obviously, in Italy. Man, I think I enjoyed the food in Italy, I think. Because I ate more at, like, restaurants. With Paris, we ate at a few restaurants before the Olympic Games, but then during the Games, I was eating, like, the media food at the NBC Center or at the facility, so I didn't really get to eat a ton out at other places. But Italy was good. It took me a few days to kind of navigate the menus and figure out exactly what I was ordering, and once I kind of got it down, I was like, okay, this means pepperoni, that's what I want. And there were some very interesting things on the menus as well. We went to this one restaurant in Verona that had horse on the menu, which opened up a giant conversation with the Italians that were with us for the week.
I think I read somewhere, I might have even seen this on a food show at one point. I think it was in Italy. There's some kind of cheese that you eat it with maggots inside of it. I'm not joking. Literally.
I've seen that on one of those travel shows, yeah.
Inside the cheese, and the enzyme that they use to digest the cheese is supposed to help flavor it, and I can't think of anything more disgusting.
Oh, no. That sounds terrible. That's right up there with horse.
We just plan for eating that a year from
now. I don't
eat
dog meat.
No. Don't plan for that. No.
So what's it like coming back here? I mean, are people following Razorback sports while you're out there? I mean, we had basketball, we had baseball going on. Yeah. What have you found yourself landing in when you came back home?
Yeah, just trying to keep up and figure out what was going on. No, I was able to watch on my flight over. Gotta love in-flight Wi-Fi somewhere in the middle of the Atlantic Ocean watching their game against Texas. And then I did not stay up to watch the game that they had earlier in the week. And then I caught a little bit of the end of the A&M game on my way back. So I did at least get to see a little bit while I was gone. But baseball was what I really jumped into because I hadn't seen anything when I got back. And so I watched a little bit on Sunday and then caught a little bit on Monday.
So give me your thought on what you saw from baseball. And it's difficult to, you don't want to make final decisions on what you think about anybody after just 4 games, but first 4 games, it looked pretty good.
They did. And gosh, I don't really know if my small sample size is enough to have any kind of opinion. I just was happy that baseball's back and that we get to enjoy baseball for the next couple of months as basketball kind of winds down a little bit. It was just really good to see them win all 4 games, and I know that sounds a little silly, but even like JMU was able to get that 4th game a year ago. And for them to just come out and take care of business and play, I think the way that a lot of people expected them to play. You've heard some complaining about the offense, and we're 4 games in. That seems a little silly to me. But I'm excited to see them play Kansas State, TCU, and Michigan this upcoming weekend because I think it'll be a little bit better of an idea of okay, this is exactly, I think, what we're going to get from this team.
In terms of basketball, so much of the conversation is about getting to the tournament. And I guess at this point of the year that makes sense. I just am still not really convinced that Arkansas is a team that knows how to win games against other teams that also know how to win games. I thought the win over Kentucky, I thought that said a lot about how they feel about Cal. The win over Texas, I feel, was to show that was not a fluke. LSU beating them at home to me just says you beat a really bad team. Do you think this is a team that if they get into the tournament that they can make some noise?
Golly, I always think if they get into the tournament, no matter what, no matter when and what year, it's all about the path that you're dealt. And I think you can look back and say, man, like that was a pretty good path for Arkansas. That was really tough, being able to have to face, the North Carolinas in that second round. And a couple of times, remember those years where they got knocked out by, North Carolina a couple of years ago when Mike Anderson was still here. I really think that it's just about how that path looks for them. Can they win a handful of games and then all of a sudden they're going on a little bit of a run? Or is it just going to be they win one game and then they're out the second week or the second round? So I just don't even know if they get there. And that's like where my biggest concern is can they still do enough to warrant a bid into the NCAA tournament? And I'm just still on the fence right now.
Yeah, I think if they can get 7-11, they earn their way in there. One of the questions I got, Alyssa, is with Carter Knox really coming on, it kind of makes me think of Braylon Russell. Like that's $1 million player. We're starting thinking about next year and keeping guys on this team. I mean, he is playing himself into a big time deal. I think the same with Billy Richmond. I think he's getting better as well. But the flashes they're showing, then you've got to start kind of divvying up the pie again to where it's going to go and who do you keep on this team?
Yeah, I think you make a really good point, Matt. When the season is over, sometimes the biggest recruiting you're going to have to do is the guys who are already on your roster. And we saw that a little bit with Braylon Russell. Now, I do think that we can't put Carter Knox and Braylon Russell into the same category because I think just maybe some logistical outside issues were a part of Braylon Russell's back and forth, and I don't think, knock on wood, Carter Knox has that same kind of outside opinions being brought in, but I have no idea. But yeah, I think you look and you say, okay, who am I willing to pay to keep around? And I think Carter Knox and Billy Richmond are two of those guys that you put at the top of your list and say we have to keep them as a foundation, as a holdover for next season, and you do what you can to keep those guys first before you then go back into the transfer portal and find more people.
Yeah, I know, because you start evaluating talent. You say, well, who's going to be a better pro? Who's going to be the better college player when you're talking about Big Z or Carter? What kind of, how does the game fit? What do you think about Coach coming out saying that he might go big again? I don't know what hell. We got to hit shots against Auburn, but starting 9 and Big Z together.
I say, why not? I really do think at this point, we've said it before, that you just got to try to see if anything is working right now, if anything kind of gives you a little bit of a spark, gives you a different kind of energy in the way that Big Z is playing. I understand how can we keep him on the court, what kind of people around him can we put out there to complement him as well. So I don't hate it. I like it. I like the fact that still, I get that we've still got 6 games left and they're still making tweaks. They're still making adjustments. They're still just trying to figure out what works. It shows me that this team is still fighting for an NCAA tournament bid and hasn't just thrown their hands up and go through the motions.
Well, we're talking now to Pete Thamel's reporting that the NCAA wants to expand the men's tournament, which means you would expand the women's tournament to 76 teams and add another 8, which I think would mean doing a whole nother first 4. Now you're at a place where if you're getting 13 SEC teams into the tournament this year, are we going to be in a place where 4 SEC wins is enough to get in? I don't think you're ever going to get every single team from this league in, but if you open up 8 more spots, who are you opening it up for? Are you opening it up for mid-majors that have a great season but don't win their conference tournament? Are you opening it up for 4 and 14 teams in the Big Ten, though, right? I mean, who are you opening it up for? Because the tournament so often is about the small teams and the little guy who find a way to win games. I don't think people want to watch, essentially mediocre basketball teams within their league make some run, do they?
Well, I think that's the argument you make anytime you want to open things up. I think with the college football playoffs, it was the same thing. Like, do you need more teams? Does the NCAA tournament need more teams? And for basketball, I just don't think that it does. I think it's fine the way that it is, and it's almost, you still have to be able to earn a spot, right? And I'm not trying to say that, you can win only 4 games in the SEC and be a good team. So you can. I mean, I think you look at South Carolina, who has not won a conference game, but they've been very, very close to winning games. I don't think they're a bad basketball team. The SEC is tough, but you still got to win games. I don't understand why we need to open it up and add more teams. And then I think you start to get a little bit dicey with who's in and who's out. And like now you turn into the argument of, does a 4-win SEC team better than a mid-major conference team that, again, won the regular season, maybe even went undefeated in the regular season conference, but didn't win the tournament? Like, who's the better basketball team?
Yeah,
and then you're just getting nitpicking and splitting hairs there. Right.
You've had more programs join Division I since the last time that the tournament expanded. And so the idea would be, well, have the same percentage at least of teams that are Division I members that can make the tournament as you did the last time you expanded. But I also know you're not expanding the tournament for Utah Tech. You're not expanding the tournament for Houston Baptist. You're not expanding the tournament for the Little Rock Trojans. You're expanding the tournament for Iowa. You're expanding the tournament for not Oregon State, because they're in the Mountain West now. You're expanding it for the big teams.
You're expanding the tournament for that Texas A&M team that went on a run late a few years ago and probably should have gotten an NCAA bid and did not. But you're expanding it for.
Right. Yeah, and then you end up with a team that's got, close to a 500 winning percentage that's in, and you get a team that had maybe an 80% winning percentage that is out. So, anyways, all these changes in college sports, and we can just have opinions about them because they're not asking us what we think about this.
Exactly.
BetOnline is the world's most trusted betting platform and your number one source for online betting in 2025. Whether you're a seasoned fan or a first-time bettor, BetOnline is your ultimate game day companion. With the largest selection of odds on everything from NBA and college basketball to the NHL and UFC, BetOnline continues to be your number one sports betting source. From every three-pointer to hat trick, BetOnline has you covered with odds, stats, and more for every game, every play, and every win. BetOnline, the game starts here.